So I'm going to walk you through Judge Jeanette Reyes's decision last February to continue to block Doge's access to Treasury Department data through March 25th, 2025. And I want you to walk with me through these cases for two reasons. One, inevitably you see an acolyte Elon Musk say that these judges need to be impeached and accuse them of being partisan. When you walk through with me the same facts and the data that they were presented with, you're going to see why they make the decisions and how you would too if you were placed in their shoes. And second, because I've said this before, if you follow me, that a lot of the cases, if you're monitoring them, you can monitor them at outlasting47.com, which is my companion document here you can get for $7.99 and support my work here, is that almost 100% of the cases mention the fact that the Trump administration is violating the Administrative Procedure Act, which requires executive agencies to take a thoughtful, deliberative, and intentional approach when they do things. Like, you can cut the government. Yes, you can. Bill Clinton did it. You can do it. There's different ways you can do it. One of the things you should definitely do is take into account the data, the record. Take a step back. Train the people who are doing it. Make sure everything done is above ground, because think about it. If you were in a competition and there was a house competition and there's two teams, and one team took 10 minutes to assemble their house with sticks just laying around, and the next team used a full hour that the competition allowed to build a strong house. If a wind were to come through, let's say this competition took place on a beach, the house that was made in 10 minutes, made on sticks, will fall down. The house that was made with an hour, took the full hour, made with sand and soot and everything, will most likely withstand any gale force wind. So that's why Donald Trump's essentially decisions keeps toppling down, because they do not follow the proper procedure. They do not take the careful, thoughtful approach. So enough of me to yammer. Let's get into the decision. First, take note of this guy. His name is Thomas Kraus. He is the CEO of a cloud computing company. He doesn't get paid. Now, he was the team lead at the Treasury Department. Doge designation says that each agency, the federal government, is supposed to have 4 people: an attorney, an HR specialist, an engineer, and a team lead. In no way do they mention an accountant, though they're doing auditing, right? Let's note that. So at no point did Doge actually get anyone to do the attorney or the HR. So it's been a two-man operation. And one of the two-man operation actually resigned after 2 weeks when the media released like that he had racist tweets. So essentially it's just this one guy right here doing all the work. Now, let me tell you something about his designation. They try to say that this guy is not an employee. However, the court notes, look at here, the court notes that even though they're saying he's a Treasury Department employee, his chain of command, he is supposed to be communicating with the United States Doge office, and he's getting policy directives from Doge. So you're saying he's a Treasury employee, but why is he communicating with this Doge, which is not Treasury? So the court notes that inconsistency. So let's look at this portion. The top, it says the Treasury Department's Doge team was brought on in a chaotic and haphazard way. That's what you're going to notice through all of these judicial decisions, is they reference the extent to which every single thing that Donald Trump has done since executive orders and the Doge activities have been chaotic and haphazard. It says it was rushed. The executive order establishing Doge established January 20th. By January 21st, the Treasury Department had hired Elias, who resigned, and then Kraus, which is this person I mentioned, was appointed January 23rd. It's silent as to whether or not there was any security clearances or any other vetting that went through. As we already know from Elias resigning, that obviously they didn't do security clearance, because I might have caught that stuff. Finally, look at this part here. Look right here. They had 2 different designations. First, they designated him as under 5 USC 30109. But the thing about this was, under this designation, Kraus wouldn't have the ability to supervise or make any policy-making authority. So they changed it, right? They changed it to make him a Schedule C employee. And then he started working immediately, even though they say it's unclear from the record whether the agency established reporting lines between the Doge team and the Treasury Department, in which all of this calls into question the authority to access the Treasury systems, and that it could have been done had it been more thoughtful and careful. When asked why was the rush, the judge says that there's inconsistency with their reasoning. One of the things they said is that they wanted to quickly execute Donald Trump's executive order. However, look here where it says that nowhere in the executive order did it say that they need a rush. They say they gave them 30 days to do this job. They had 30 days, so they had ample time to actually train these people and the systems. And because it was so rushed, the existing employees, the existing staff at the Bureau of Financial Systems, the payment systems, they really couldn't organize because it was so haphazard. They had this artificial urgency, was just like, it was fake. There really was no urgent reason they couldn't have followed the proper process. And this is why I always say why they will lose, because they do not follow the proper process. They're rushing it and they're not taking time. And they've taken a more deliberative approach. They could have actually accomplished what they try to accomplish, but they prefer to be sloppy. They don't want peace. They want violence. Here's a part where they say that have the BFS systems could have been implemented in a measured, reasonable, and thoughtful way. So again, I always say the reason why they fail is because they do not do things carefully. They're sloppy. And because of that sloppiness, you might have heard media reports saying that ELAS was granted read-write access. That was an accident. The reason why it was an accident is because everything was so haphazard. And they say even now, look, weeks after ELAS even left, the department's still trying to figure out to what extent, let me move out the way, that, when he did have read-write access, whether some of that information left his laptop and went someplace else. A lot of people are suspicious of that, and they should be, because we just don't know, because it was such a hot mess. So in a nutshell, it was a rush job. There was no training. They lied about the extent to which the Treasury Department Doge employees were, whether they're Treasury appointees or whether they were members of the Doge team, who was in the line of command in terms of access, authority, whether they were properly vetted, whether they had actual training, whether or not they followed conflict of interest forms, whether or not they actually did financial disclosures, whether or not they are subject to criminal liability for conflict of interest. All these things weren't fleshed out because they did it in such a rushed way. And there's no way they could have done it because Donald Trump started on day one. And these things he could have done, could have gotten actually accomplished had it been more thoughtful. And so that tells you why these judges are ruling the way they are. They are following the law. The law has followed proper procedures. Even in your house, the people who are against this, ask them, do they make decisions, life-altering decisions about where to move, about where to work, how to live? They may, and have a chaotic life, but most people are more thoughtful and contemplative when they make major life decisions. You have these people in the Donald Trump trying to disrupt 238 years of an established government. While it has bumps and bruises, while it does have bloat, while it does have pork, that's true, it's a well-oiled machine, albeit clunky, but you could have actually made it more finer had you just followed the process. This rush job is not the thing. So that is why they're getting pulled back, and they're going to consistently get pulled back, because this is just one example of the 89 or so cases that have gone before them. Most of them, they're going to lose. The few that they do not win is usually for procedural reasons. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But on substance basis, Donald Trump loses every time, and they're going to consistently lose every single time because they do not follow the procedures. And so walking through Judge Vargas's decision, it hopefully gives you extent to which, and this is just a microcosm of all the different cases. The Trump administration attorneys are saying one thing, and then on the record, in public, in tweets and interviews, other things are going on. And there's just conflict and inconsistencies. And the inconsistency is going to, the judges are not stupid. They're attorneys, no matter how much, people with 11th grade education, barely graduate from high school, say that the judges don't know what they're talking about. No, I trust the judges who went through law school. Most likely they were jurists, most likely they were attorneys, and most likely did a hell of a job before someone appointed them. And also you need to point out that Judge Vargas, while she was appointed by, I think, Joe Biden, a lot of these judges were appointed by Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and even Trump. So people not in your cult don't see the world through your cultist views, okay? Through your viewpoint. And don't expect this to. And so when we pop off this, all this is give you some education and some pushback that you can use when you bump into these folks on the social media and say, no, you absolutely have no idea what you're talking about. You're in a cult. And that's why, because you're in a cult, you cannot think clearly. Get deprogrammed and then come back to us. So those are the facts. That's the data. I hope that's helpful for you. Get my outlasting47.com. You can follow me here or anywhere else at JJ Legal on social media. And if you want a deeper dive, we're not going to more behind the scenes stuff that I don't want to make public. It's going to be my private communities. So right now I'm not in the country, but when I get back, I may do more of those. So you want to sign up so you know the inside scoop. All right. Hope that's helpful.